first of all, let's go through some of the points made by Mr. Zhang, who is the third highest official coming from the mainland, the government. He talked about one country, two system, Ms. Leung. The word he's using is, it is actually precious, not come easily, and deserve pride and protection. The question is, does Hong Kong, or many people in Hong Kong, understand the significance of this interesting system, which is one country, two systems? Do they take pride in it? And how are they making use of the 50 years, one country, two systems?
Yeah, I think we have to acknowledge that one country, two systems is very unique in the world. And Mr. Zhang Dejiang, in fact, in both of his major speeches in Hong Kong, have emphasized that one country, two systems has been proven to be a success. Of course, there are also some in-depth problems in Hong Kong. However, it actually need a lot of experience to prove with efforts and also with the determination of Hong Kong people internally to put aside our internal conflict in order to make one country, two system more successful. And he has the confidence in it. In fact, among these two speeches, he actually emphasized the strength of Hong Kong and also recorded why in 1990, when the Basic Law was passed, and in 1997, Deng Xiaoping at that time agreed to give one country, two system to Hong Kong.
We are also joined right now by Mr. Mervyn Cheung Man-ping, who is chairman of the Hong Kong Education Policy Concern Organization and also school administrator at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Professor, welcome to our program as well. What do you make from an educator's perspective and a longtime citizen of Hong Kong, of course, of this one country, two system? This is not an abstract question I'm asking here. It is rather a very vivid question because that's concern about every life in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's the real situation. In fact, Hong Kong has benefited quite substantially from the innovative one country, two systems, because we can still retain our ongoing way of life, while at the same time we can rely on our motherland for development on different fronts. And this is the first of its kind of a political system around the world, and we are quite fortunate to have that.
This is the interesting thing, Mr. Zhang. You just use word rely, a verb. There has been a lot of debates about whether Hong Kong should rely on the mainland and motherlands for its future progress. There has been debates about whether Hong Kong should maintain its own identity. So what about, on the one hand, economically so closely linked to the mainland and even to a certain extent relying on the mainland in some sectors, while on the other hand, try to maintain its own identity, which is also being commented by Mr. Zhang Dejiang?
Yeah. Can I?
Mr.
I think
Zhang?
It's totally unrealistic. Yes, speaking. I think it's totally unrealistic to expect two things which are so closely related to be unrelated, because we benefit from being under the one country, two systems, that is with a very close relationship with mainland China. And well, in terms of economic development, we need China's support very much. And of course, at the same time, as the NPC chairman said today, we need to position ourselves correctly in the Belt and Road initiative. And then, well, if we want to have this kind of continuing prosperity and stability, we indeed would need to rely on China. So that's why having our own political identity is both unrealistic and at the same time impossible.
Ms. Leung, what do you make of it? I mean, you are one member of the Legislative Council. You are dealing with this issue all the time. Is it a struggle, or actually it is a wonderful balance that Hong Kong needs to learn to do?
Yeah, in fact, it is a really wrongful allegation to say that to mingle with our mainland together in order to go out to the neighboring trade as taking away the local characteristics of Hong Kong, I think is a very wrongful characteristics. It's a very wrongful allegation also. In fact, I think one country, two system is very suitable for Hong Kong. And Zhang Dejiang has emphasized that our strength, like low tax, free port, as well as we are the biggest offshore renminbi center in the world. And he also emphasized that we have a very established system of the rule of law and also very, very good professional services. And actually, he is encouraging Hong Kong people to make use of this existing strength and to make use of this Belt Road strategy of China. This is something he wants to encourage. And in particular, he emphasized that one country, two system is not something antagonistic with the local characteristics of Hong Kong. In fact, it's vice versa. One country, two system is to treasure the characteristics of Hong Kong as an international city at that time. And at the same time, they would like Hong Kong to be protected by China and also to mingle with China strength in order to get our biggest competitiveness in the world.
I see.
So this message is very clear this time.
Professor Wang here in Beijing, in his speech, Chairman Zhang Dejiang from the National People's Congress, also China's legislator, talking about two concepts that he said has to be very much distinguished. One is a big word called secessionism. The other is localization and localism. He is suggesting that localism in any place should be encouraged, including in Hong Kong. However, it should not be the case that people are practicing secessionism in the name of localism. It sounds abstract an argument, but in fact, if you look at Hong Kong over the past few years, it's pretty much a viable argument looking at this real situation, Professor Wang.
Yes, we talk about one country, two systems, but this is of Hong Kong. But there's no one people, two citizenship. Hong Kong's citizen is also Chinese citizen. They should respect the Chinese constitution, of course, the law of the Hong Kong. So there's a misunderstanding about the one country, two citizens. The many difficulties for the transition of the Hong Kong in discovering the new competitive advantage because globalization is not running so well. As a global city, Hong Kong also has difficulties. At the same time, Chinese economy also is in a dramatic transformation from export and FDI driven to service and also to open to the Belt and Road countries, and those countries also open to China. So Hong Kong, I think this maybe some people say is the last opportunity to rediscover its potential privileges and also reshaping the competitive advantages to in Chinese open reform.
But whether it is the last opportunity or not, it is an exaggeration or not, that's one question. But the thing is, Mr. Zhang in Hong Kong, whether Hong Kong would be able to jump on this bandwagon of China's strategy, which is the Belt and Road Initiative, be able to reshape itself into one very eligible center or still of Asia, given the fact many cities across Asia, including on the mainland, has been prospering over the past few decades. So what could still be Hong Kong's advantages? Will Hong Kong identify those and make full advantage of those? That is the question. Mr. Zhang, do you think in any way the current pace of Hong Kong, debates in Hong Kong, processes in Hong Kong, preventing in any way for Hong Kong to clearly identify its potential? What do you make of democracy vis-a-vis efficiency and also clear-mindedness?
Well, I think all along Hong Kong's advantage or advantages lie in the economic aspects of our development. Democracy is, I think, is quite is something that is too weak to us, because our existence since the colonial days till now and well in the future will hinge very closely on the degree of success with our economic development, how people's living standards can be improved continually, and how our trading and also financial advantages and development can be, can proceed uninterrupted. Now, if we try to pursue democracy to such an unrealistic extent that it hampers our development as a financial center, as a trading center, as also a center for logistic support for different kinds of economic endeavors, I think Hong Kong is bound to finish. So I think the NPC chairman has said rightly that we have 4 advantages in terms of geography, humanistic, cultural side, as well as our professional support services and all these things. And we should take advantage of the strengths that we already have and try to move into areas under the Belt and Road Initiative undertaken by China. Now, in fact, without the Belt and Road Initiative, how can we, Hong Kong by itself, go into those markets which are developing and in good time will become thriving?
Right.
Now already our Trade Development Council has been making quite a lot of efforts to go into those markets, but apparently with little success. So without China's initiative, for the Belt and Road, how can we start our journey into these potential markets?
All right. But having said that, though, those are very important debates that need to be taken place inside Hong Kong itself as to specifically how, who to work with, for what purposes, until when. Those are very concrete plans that Hong Kong needs to come up with itself. But on the other hand, Professor Wang, let's just be frank here. Belt and Road Initiative is still at this moment a blueprint, not necessarily all the details being lined up, even from the mainland government, the central government. So in that respect, how can Hong Kong play a bigger role? Is it mainly up to Hong Kong as to how they can come up with their own versions of the plan? Or is it mainly working with the central government to come up with their proportion?
Well,
who should take a proactive approach?
Well, Hong Kong is Hong Kong's Hong Kong, China's Hong Kong, global Hong Kong. Belt and Road Initiative, in many eyes of the Europeans, that I learned from participation of this today's conference, China-Europe Party, high-level party forum. Most of them said that the Belt and Road Initiative probably one of the most greatest initiative in the world. That this is the last hope for Europe to seize the opportunity for the Euro-Asian mutual connectivities. So Europeans understand that. UK understands similar. As Hong Kong, I think its access the China and the Europe, of course, maybe similar to that kind of a conclusion. So I think Hong Kong, they still have many advantages and potential privileges, because as a global financial center and a service professional center, that China need to invest in the Belt and Road countries, they need information, professional support, and then most importantly, I think financial market. If Hong Kong join AIIB, I think definitely will help a lot.
Right. Well, those are certainly many important details, but having said that, though, whether it's Belt and Road Initiative or other kinds of mechanism Hong Kong aspires to join, one of the things that's very necessary is the confidence that the Hong Kongers have about Hong Kong. So, Ms. Leung, you've been dealing with these, citizens' issues a lot. So let me ask you, there has been a lot of myth about where Hong Kong's economy is. A lot of myth also about the unemployment rate of Hong Kong. They are saying young people cannot find jobs anymore. Last time I checked, though, the unemployment rate was under 5%. That's pretty good compared to many other developed economies around the world. So where does that myth come from? How are these kinds of myths, in a way, quote unquote, influencing the mentalities of Hong Kongers? And how should we let people understand what the realities are? Ms. Leung.
Yeah, in fact, Hong Kong is a very lovely island. We do have a lot of access
Really?
that nowadays there is some people in Hong Kong who have not appreciated. I think communication and also a discussion is very important. But under this our home country Belt Road Initiative, in fact, I believe Hong Kong people is like that. Where there is a will, there's a way. In fact, we have a lot of strength, but many people underestimate our own strength and only complain. And so this is a mindset problem now in Hong Kong. And I believe if we actually can present a true picture to some of the Hong Kong young people who may not be who have never visited China, who may not visited any other countries in the world, and they don't have that kind of comparison, how good now actually Hong Kong is. Of course, Hong Kong is a capitalist place. We do have differences and discrepancy between the poor and the rich, and we are also making improvement of our social welfare system. However, Hong Kong's success relies on the determination of Hong Kong people ourselves, how to make full use of opportunities. And these opportunities now are before us. The Belt Road Initiative actually is very great for Hong Kong because Hong Kong infrastructure is ready. For example, arbitration, dispute resolution center, our professional and accountant services, and also to help the game of the Asia Infrastructure Bank. That is a very, 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 very wonderful new rule of game in economy. So I believe now some people still do not grasp the whole concept of Belt Road Initiative. They think it is just a political concept, but in fact it is talking about a lot of opportunity in economic development, trade relationship, joint ventures, and also many other opportunities.
And the list goes on. Yes,
services.
indeed. I can tell that when it comes to Hong Kong's future, both the Hong Kongers we invited are very passionate about this. Talking about the Hong Kong's economy, there are other sides of it. For example, this number, let's take a look. Total number of visitors to Hong Kong was 10.9% lower in the first quarter of 2016 compared to a year earlier, largely because of a 15.1% drop in those from the mainland. So in a way, it is demonstrating how the relations have been between the mainland and also Hong Kong. Having said that, though, the question is how Hong Kong is likely to be more welcoming, more embracing of others, and where is it the Hong Kongers can-do spirit, Mr. Cheung, that many around the world for decades have been very respectful about. The Hong Kong people do not talk much, and yet when it comes to actions, they are really the number one. So let's go to you, Mr. Cheung. Once again, how to grasp that opportunity? What is urgently needed? Education, communication, real policies, the administration inside Hong Kong, what can they do? Or actually there has to be more interlinks between the mainland, the central government, and in Hong Kong. Mr. Cheung, I know it's a long question, but I think it's very important that we are having some answers.
Yeah, I think, well, in fact, the tourist industry in relation to visitors from China has not been excessively bad because over the Golden Week, which is just passed, in fact, we have a slight increase in the number of visitors coming from the mainland. Now, the problem is they are now spending less time and less money in Hong Kong, and that's the crux of the problem.
All right.
Now, what the Hong Kong government should do is to step up public education in relation to the Hong Kong public. That is, since Hong Kong has all along been an international city, we need to be more welcoming and receptive to visitors from all countries. Especially those that have a very close economic ties with Hong Kong. Now, and then we also need to work very closely with the China government as to how individual visitor scheme and those and those initiatives can be further improved.
Well,
now, at the moment, we
final
we
words.
find
I
it
guess we're
difficult to
running
have
out of time.
visitors coming, repeating their visit.
Final
Okay.
words. Final words.
I think all along the situation, yeah. Well, let's work together with the Chinese government and at the same time the Hong Kong government to try to improve our publicity efforts in order to prove that we are all welcoming to
right.
visitors.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang. One final word from you also.
Well, Hong Kong can attract more tourists from China if they let gentlemen use the central government, not the Chinese government.